Work. Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Susan Ward. I am the MTSSB consultant for the Southeast region of New Hampshire, and I am with the Office of Social and Emotional Wellness at the New Hampshire Department of Education.
Susan, lovely to be here with you today. I'm Lisa Hayward, and I also work at the Department of Education with you in the Office of Social and Emotional Wellness.
Hi, my name is Tim Herbert. I'm an assistant principal at Concord High School.
And I'm Evan Marcus. I am a senior at Concord High School.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us today. And Evan's created a YouTube video called HyperFocus. And I would love to ask you more questions about HyperFocus. And can you tell us a little bit about what made you create the video?
Sure. So HyperFocus was a stage play that over the pandemic and over everything, and as stage play became impossible to do, became an animated video. It's more of like a short film now. It's an educational and narrative 20-minute thing that aims to personalize one specific story of ADHD and sort of how it manifests in certain people and how it affects certain people. Originally, honestly, I wanted to create it because college season was coming up, and I wanted something that I could do to sort of make a difference and make a bit of a splash to sort of differentiate myself. And I wanted to do something that only I could do, something that would be specific to me. And so I toured around with a lot of ideas. And then one day I remember specifically a friend came up to me and he had this YouTube video, and we both have ADHD. And he showed me the YouTube video, and it was this YouTuber sort of self-diagnosing himself with ADHD. And while it was funny, it was all stereotypes, and it wasn't all true. And a lot of it was very much sort of the symptoms of ADHD, and not actual hard medical facts. And it sort of fed into that widespread idea that ADHD is a bit of a joke. And that's when it sort of hit me, like, I can do something with this. I have an extensive history with it. I have my own personal story through which I found out I had it, and getting the right treatment and finding the right treatment options for me. And I've got sort of some of the skills, at least, and I built a few more of them to make it happen, to make a story that could make that personal to other people and to people who didn't have ADHD, and could sort of act as an educational tool to bring some of that stigma down and to just target the facts and target the real understanding of what ADHD is and how it affects people.
That's really exciting. So you're going to use it for part of your college application then, right? I
already did. It was what my main Common App was about, or the main essay in it. And I'm happy to say it helped me get into a lot of colleges. So I think it's a success.
Are you willing to share with us where you're going?
Sure. I'm going to the University of Michigan.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good for you. That's wonderful. So I'm curious, how did you actually create the video?
Sure. So like I said, the script was a play script originally. It was a one-act stage play. And when the pandemic comes, that's no longer a thing that we could do. And so the next step was figuring out a way that I could still make it happen when we couldn't meet on stage. I didn't want to do it over Zoom, and I didn't want to do it as a podcast, which was one of the ideas that was thrown out, because there's a visual component, especially with Brandon's propensity for doodling in the show, and that wouldn't be sort of representable in most any digital format. So I was sort of toying around with it, and eventually I just bit the bullet, and I was like, okay, I'm going to resurrect the old ADHD, or not ADHD, the old animation that I used to do. I used to do like stick figure fight battles on like my school iPad back in middle school. I used to make Lego stop motions with all of that in the background. And I was like, how hard could it be? So I reworked the script in probably less time than it needed. Some of it still feels like a play script, which I do think isn't the worst thing in the world. I got voice actors to help bring some of the characters to life. And, you know, that was a whole tragedy and a half trying to make that work with no one knowing how to use any of the video chatting tools or microphones. But we got that. I learned how to audio edit, which was also a heck of a process. And when it came to the animation, I had a lot of animation to do, about 22 minutes in the end in a pretty short amount of time, because like I said, I had to get it done before college applications. And also I had tied it into a couple other programs and I wanted to have it ready and have it available for the 2020-2021 school year for use with remote teaching. So I had about 2 months and no programs to make it work. So what I did was puppet style animation with two-dimensional pictures that I could then use to, I could reuse the same poses to do multiple different scenes with them. I tried many different art styles. I tried pencil drawing. I tried crayons at one point. That's how many different avenues I tried. And eventually I came to a system that used 6 apps on my phone and a free video editing software through the school. So I didn't spend a dime on HyperFocus. And it involved taking pictures of, or it was actually videos because I had to do them all remotely. I would have the performer set up their video as I was on a Zoom call, coaching them through all of the different poses that I wanted from them. And they would go through the poses, they'd do them, and when they were on the video, they just have to like freeze in the pose. When they were frozen on the pose in the video, I would go through the video, take a screenshot of each pose, put it into a separate app that sort of made the lines of the photo cartoony and sort of two-dimensional. I would then take them into another app that I could use to manually take out the background and just rotoscope around the background. And then another app to clean up the lines, clean up sort of all of the art, and then import it to the video editing software, which was not made for animation, and sort of struggle with it until I got a product that I liked. And I think it's given it its very own style, and it's given it its own identity. And it's definitely made it look a whole lot more impressive than if it was just a little stage play.
That's fantastic. And we're going to be sharing the link so that everybody can watch this too. And now we'll understand the amount of work that you actually had to go to get it. So I'm going to rewatch it with a fresh set of eyes.
It's over 300 unique pieces of art throughout the whole thing. It took over 400 hours to finish, but I think it was worth it.
I was going to ask how long that took.
Yeah.
Long time.
It does. It does.
Half a year.
It sounds like you developed some director skills. Should I ask what you'll be majoring in?
I don't know what I'll be majoring in yet, but so far as directorial skills go, it definitely was useful. I directed another one act for the senior one acts at CHS this year. It definitely helped a lot with that.
That's fantastic. That's great.
Right. We're going to move right along with our questions. We have so many.
What that leads me to ask, what has been the response?
The response has been great. I thought, it's a thing that I made, so how special could it be? But I've been getting just so much positive feedback from it. I sent an email to the Concord Monitor after I was done because I kind of wanted to get it out there. I wanted to get, and the Concord Monitor is our local newspaper. I wanted to get it out there. I wanted to get it sort of into people's minds. And I figured I might, if they even responded to me, I might get a little crawl in one side. But little did I know they were all over it. and they put it right on the front page, and it was the front page of a Sunday paper, which was just a really, really special moment. I sent it to my old elementary school where I attended sort of just like the earliest years of my education. I sent it to them and I got a really good response there. I believe it's now part of the Health 2 curriculum at CHS, and it was shown in psychology classes as well this year.
Mhm.
And I actually, fun little anecdote, I have a friend who was in one of those psych classes, and I didn't know that they were putting it on that day. And she texted me and she was like, dude, we're watching your video. I didn't even realize this was you. Everyone's like enraptured. And apparently they were all just like glued to their seats, just staring at the screen. And that felt great. It just felt really good to know that it's sort of meeting its demographic.
That is fantastic. That must have been surprising and extremely rewarding.
Yes, incredibly nerve-wracking beforehand too.
So
Go ahead.
thank you. What would you like people to know? And when I say the word people, I mean, what would you like different people to know? Because I'm sure all kinds of different folks will be watching your work. So what would you like your peers your age to know? What would you like parents to know? What would you like teachers to know? What would you like, principals to know about the process, about yourself, about growing up the way you grew up with ADHD? What is your message to different people?
Sure. I think largely the message with HyperFocus, and I want to clarify for anyone who does see HyperFocus after seeing this, the story of HyperFocus is not mine, or at least not mine alone. It's a culmination of the stories of many, many people, several of my friends who have ADHD, as well as many stories and just sort of retellings or accounts from across the internet, and from across people in my life and outside of it, and connections, to sort of build up this web of one person that represented a good number, at least, of those stories, especially in sort of the classroom setting. And that's how Brandon's story sort of came to be. And I want people to watch that, and I want people to realize that people with ADHD are just people. They're just people with ADHD. They're not making a joke. They're not making an excuse. It is just a part of their life. It's not something that can be turned off. It's not something that it's not something that comes from anything. You can't eat a bunch of sugar or watch too much TV and get ADHD. It's none of those things. It's none of the myths. And what it is instead is just a different way of processing the world around you and processing the impulses inside of you. And it can cause complications for some people, but it can also cause incredible things for others. I mean, if you've ever seen Robin Williams stand up, ADHD can be an incredible tool. So as much as it is difficult to work with, if everybody is on the same page and if everybody knows how to work with ADHD and how to accommodate some of the challenges, what comes out of it is it's a condition that doesn't need to be negative and can produce some great stuff.
Absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you said, there are a lot of misconceptions out there. If people just really took the time to understand it, to get to know what it means to have ADHD, and then how to work with it and accommodate.
And that's all it takes to overcome the stigma, is just education and just knowing. I had a teacher who somehow it made it around to her. I didn't send it to her, but she said that watching it was a lot like when she had a deaf student in her classroom, and they had tried various accommodations to help the deaf student sort of understand what was going on. And eventually what they did was they put earmuffs on her ears and they had her sit in the back of the classroom while they talked at the same pitch that she was at. And it helped her to sort of realize, like, this is just the situation that he's in and how to sort of work with it, and how to work around it. And I think in many ways, this is a lot like that, where all you need to see is just how it is from their perspective. They're not making it up. It's just, this is what they're seeing and what they're
Exactly.
hearing and what they're understanding. And if you can work around that, then the stigma is gone.
That's right. Mr. Herbert,
Yep.
I'm sure you have some thoughts on this video. And has anything changed in the school? What have you seen?
What I've seen, Evan alluded to some of it where it's being brought into our Health 2 curriculum. In addition to our school site classes have also used as part of the curriculum. And we have an MTSSB team that we look for student voice on some of our interventions to drive what we're putting in place for interventions to support students. This video was brought to MTSSB team for our universal as well as our tier 2 to look at some interventions that we could do to assist. In addition to that, it's been used through that MTSS umbrella for some of our training, just like in education. Put yourself in the student's shoes. Now think of this as a student in your class who you may have seen as an off task, not following directions or someone who was disruptive. And think these are a range of experiences of students going through, the feelings they felt in those interactions with teachers, and really trying to get people to put the other lens on when they're working with students. So there's work around that going on. That work was going on before, but this just added to that student voice and experience, and also taking it in to help us decide how can we fine tune our interventions. But in addition to that, it was also shared at the SAU level with our student services director who funneled it down through our middle school and elementary schools. So they also had access to it to use it to very similar to their PBIS or responsive classroom models as a training for the teacher. I'm not sure if they used it in their classes like we have here, but it's just one of those things, getting it out there, getting a student's, like Evan said, not necessarily his, but a collective student's lived experience out there for people to see what it's like in those shoes is a very powerful tool. So that has been the immediate and ongoing kind of effect I've seen from this video.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for reaching out. And Evan, thank you so much for spreading this message, for
Thank you for
educating
having me.
people about ADHD. And we just want to say thank you so much for all you've done.
I think
And
we
thank
have
you.
a final question though for Evan. Has creating and sharing the video changed anything for you?
For me, especially, it helped to look back, because again, I'm coming at this from the perspective of someone who dealt with I was ADHD 101, especially growing up, to someone who has come out the other side. And I found the treatments that worked for me. And I found the various methods that have helped me to live my life and to live productively around and with ADHD. Being able to look, because like with medication, it's not a one size fits all thing. And I'd completely forgotten. With me, we tried like 4 or 5 different meds until we found the right one. And we're still altering the dosage to this day to make sure it's like perfect. And I'd forgotten that until I was going back to research and create HyperFocus. And in addition, just being able to see how this has affected people and how perceptions have already changed in front of my eyes, that's been incredibly special. Just being able to realize that there is a change that is possible, and that through education, through understanding of ADHD, it is more than possible to overcome the stigma and to not have to deal with and just sort of grin and bear it through some of the stereotypes and through some of the maybe less than sensitive jokes, because change is possible, and I'm glad that I'm able to be a part of that.
Thank you so much
you.
for sending this message.
Thank you for having me.
This is a great message, and we look forward to sharing it with the field. And if anybody has any questions, would you like us to share your email or
Sure.
with the, you have
One
a
of the
preference?
things that has been very useful about having HyperFocus on YouTube is the comments section. People are able to leave comments, and I keep an eye on those, and I check back on those every so often. And when I see a new one, especially a question, I reply to it, and I try to reach out to every single one. So if there is ever a question, you can either comment there, or if you want to send an email to the email address of the channel that's posted, that is an open email. Anyone can send to it, and I will see it. That is a great place to ask me questions.
Thank you for that pointer. I'm sure lots of people will want to give you feedback and congratulate you, and maybe there'll be a question or two.
I'll keep an eye out.
Thank you so much. Thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for watching, everyone.